Hi, my name is Diego Zapata. Today I want to talk to you a little bit more in depth about our history. At the end of the Pleistocene, the end of the last ice age, Los Angeles never fully glaciated, but we did have an abundance of snowpack in all of the mountain ranges that surround our basin. And as climate started to warm, that snowpack started to melt, and the Los Angeles River coalesced in the lower lying areas of the Los Angeles River Basin. As it melted, it carried with it all this beautiful alluvium that we call at the studio the floodplain, which you will see a lot of throughout the rest of the tour. Within this time frame, indigenous peoples, the Carolino Tongva, Carolino Kizh, Carolino Shoshone, moved into the basin and made their home here. There was so much abundance, so much life in this part of the world that the Carolino Tongva never had to practice traditional forms of agriculture. There was food, medicine everywhere. They did practice traditional forms of land stewardship, like prescribed burning, but they never went as far as building monocultures and clear-cutting forests to grow food. It just was not necessary. Portola, for instance, remarked that there was nowhere that they could set foot in the basin without being under the shelter of beautiful large oak trees, sycamore trees. In 1781, the Spanish government started enslaving the indigenous peoples here to start building what we call the Zanja Madre, or the Mother Ditch. The Mother Ditch was the first diversion of Los Angeles River water to the city of Los Angeles, and it pretty much ran along what we call Broadway now to the Pueblo de Los Angeles. In 1873, the city of Los Angeles gave a land grant to the Southern Pacific Railroad in what is present-day Los Angeles State Historic Park. And all of the immigrants, all of the freight, all of the goods that were moving to and away from the city of Los Angeles were being brought to the state park in the transcontinental terminus of the Southern Pacific Railroad. The thing I really want to emphasize is the occupation of the Southern Pacific Railroad in this area led to a lot of heavy metal contamination. They used heavy metals, mostly lead, in all of their alloys. They used lead to line a lot of their railroads, and a lot of the telegraph lines that ran along the railroads also were insulated with lead. Where you are standing today at Metabolic Studio was actually the former site of Standard Oil. At the time, oil drilling was happening all over the city of Los Angeles, right in people's neighborhoods and people's backyards, and all of the oil that was being extracted in the east side was being stored here. In 1913, William Mulholland infamously declared, "Take your water," right? We began diverting water from Owens Valley to Los Angeles, displacing a bunch of indigenous communities and agricultural industries, basically creating a local dust bowl in Owens Valley. And that also marked the same year that the Zanja Madre fully fell into disrepair. We no longer relied on the Los Angeles River for a local water supply because we started stealing water everywhere else. In 1938, the city of Los Angeles experienced a 100-year storm, and the Los Angeles River flooded very horribly and displaced many communities that were living and growing right next to the river. It also killed over 100 people. And this prompted the federal government to start channelizing the river with the Army Corps of Engineers. In 1934, the federal government passed a National Housing Act that essentially created this systemic practice of redlining. So communities like Chinatown, Lincoln Heights, Boyle Heights were redlined. Any person of color was only able to live within these redline communities, essentially barred from a lot of financial services that the federal government and banks were providing. So you couldn't get a mortgage, you couldn't get a loan. And so what we end up having now is very toxic areas full of heavy metals and petrochemicals co-occurring with communities of color. So the 1930s pretty much marked the channelization of the river, our exploitation of the American West for water, and also set forth all of the environmental injustice the city of Los Angeles is still dealing with.